Anyway, thanks so much for coming. This is kind of our first in a series of 3 talks that we're doing. I'm doing how to get started in competition. Michael's going to talk about how competition makes you a better pilot, and then last asked to talk about competition versus aeroshow flying. So what you should know is that a lot of your aeroshow pilots out there, when flying Oshkosh, they start out in competition. So if that's one of your goals, I want to be an aeroshow pilot, you need to compete. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about competition, what it is, and how it started. Okay, Michael introduced me a little bit. My day job is working for NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. You can actually come visit me in the NASA exhibit. I am a normal pilot like you. I have got SB doing my instrument rating and everything. I just kind of suddenly loved aerobatics when I went into an upset recovery course. And that's how I kind of moved into aerobatics is kind of my focus. But I'm a flight instructor and things like that. I'm actually currently enrolled in A&P school. So I'm working on my A&P certification as well. I like to work on my plane a lot. So that's time consuming if anyone is an A&P. And then a lot of people know me because a couple of years ago, my first year at Nationals, I actually won the sportsman title. I had bought, I'll go from the story a little bit, but I was loving aerobatics. I was flying in a borrowed plane. And this is like, I'm like, what next to was for sale in California, and I'm like, I wasn't cool buy that plane. And I had to figure out how to do it because it's expensive. Anyway, it's the plane found me. Because I like to say on my story. It's like if you're looking for a plane, keep looking, it will find you. And so that's kind of how I got launched. That actually made one of our early contests. It was really fun. I'm so excited. That is actually the peak midway extra that I started out flying in. And it was a great bird. I actually just sold it earlier this year. And now I'm flying a 340 plane. Not competing this year. I managed to tear my ACL and meniscus on the snap roll last year. My foot slipped on a pillow. So I'm out right now, still recovering from knee surgery. So that's why you're not seeing me around flying. Quick overview of aerobatics in general. First about IAC. Besides being EAA and promoting sport aerobatics, it is also a division of National Aeronautics Association, and it actually regulates competition aerobatics in the United States. So it's actually got dual purposes. And there's competition aerobatics is international, and so the IAC represents us at the international level. So right now, limited teams, this team is over in this Poland, it's ready for the World Championships. Aerobatics itself, is what flies work about. It's really interesting. The only time it's actually mentioned in the FAR, like FAA, is where you can't do this. And so you can't do it over congested city towns, or open air assembly of persons, within the surface of airports, within 4 miles of airways, and below 1,500 feet, all visibility is less than 3 statute miles. So what's interesting about it is like you can't do it here, but when you bring it out here, over an open air assembly, that's actually what we apply for an aerobatic waiver. And so we actually go and say, we're waiving these rules so we can present aerobatics in contests or, at an air show. So you hear something about aerobatic waivers, that's actually what a waiver is. And the only other time aerobatic flights ever defined is when it's an intentional maneuver route change. Okay, so a lot of things can be considered aerobatics with the FAA. Now, this gets confusing a lot. They're like, what about parachutes? Well, parachutes really has nothing to do with aerobatics. It's actually just about your bank and your pitch. And then there's other rules about spin training for CFIs and things like that in there. But basically, IAC, we do wear parachutes as required by our rules while we fly competition for safety. FAA doesn't do it solo, so quick overview of that. And then aircraft, don't go try to fly aerobatics in your Cessna 172, please. And it's really because Cessnas are standard that can still make them online. They don't have to anybody. And this is they're limiting their locomotive is not high enough, okay, to do a lot of these maneuvers. So you can see the aerobatic category starts at +6 minus 3. All right, and what's interesting is not necessarily the wings are going to break off. When you actually damage, say, your engine mounts and things like that. That's actually the limit load there. And then I listed a few representative planes that people fly with the plus minus G load, just so you get an idea. Okay, other cool things about aircraft. These things you sometimes see, they're called spades or shovels. They actually act as power steering. The ailerons are so big, you actually need extra help to push the stick over so they grab the wind and help you move your controls. That's basically what they do. And then we always have questions, what's some of the things sticking up at the wings? And you run into them and walk into them all the time. They're like side devices. So when you're a pilot, and I'm going to show you some videos, the pilot is looking sideways, we're actually looking off our wing. And this helps us know we're at a 45-degree angle, say, when I have a cupid, or you're doing something. And then when you're vertical, that stick should be vertical to the horizon, and the bottom of that triangle should be going around like that. That's actually what that does. Also, just really quick, the right colors are for a reason. So when you're spinning around the sky, often the top and bottom are sometimes different colors, so the judges can see what you're doing. That's why the colors are different. I'm not going to describe aerobatics, but I just wanted to say it exists. U.S. Air Force has a team. We have some people that can compete at the world level in glider aerobatics. A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about today applies to glider aerobatics too. They don't have an engine, so they get a little altitude things that are. First off, you're going to start doing competition in aerobatics. You've got to learn Aresti. So this is really interesting. So when aerobatics first started, there was no way to tell another pilot what you were doing. Like, you could write it down, I'm going to do a loop with a snap on top, and, they're like, oh, well, I put it like this. So what happened is, in the 60s, Jose Luis Aresti published, started categorizing all the figures you could fly in aerobatics. And he actually put together this huge catalog, and they used it in Spain at the World Championships to try to see if it worked. And it did. So you can basically take an Aresti sequence, it doesn't matter what language you speak, it's basically kind of like this. Get it to another pilot and make it work flat. Okay? So it's really pretty easy once you know the basis of it. Lines. A black one, like that, normal fly. If it's red, it's inverted or it has some kind of negative P connotation on it. You can make lines into complex figures. So there's a head. Start at the top. You go up, you come down, you end at the bottom. Tail slide, it's its own kind of maneuver. Then you can make loops and things like that. That's actually not a loop, it's a square loop. So you go up, turn, it's still an arm, but it looks more like a square as opposed to a big round. Then here's your actual loop. So you have your basic loop over here. That's like the loop with the saddle on the top. That's a half human angle. So turn around and move around. You see Red Bull Air Racing, they go to names, they come up, and they go, like that. That's a half human angle. And then you've got a bunch of turns. Turns, by the way, are greater than 60 degrees back. So if you've done any pilot training, it's like 60 degrees bank for your commercial. We haven't gone past that. We're only about 80 degrees bank. So you actually have a lot of G load on you when you're actually pulling around. Those rolling current split ends. Sorry, my camera stopped following me. I have to do that again. Okay. And then here's the rotational element. So those lines get kind of worn and you're going to follow me. You're not following the camera. Camera. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to stay here. It's me longer. Okay. I'll be here. So you can do things like that, the full roll on the line. It's full roll. The 204, that's actually this, and that's 204 points around a circle. So you basically do 90 degrees and stop and pause, and then another 90 degrees when you get done. Red line and further. That's what that means. And 8 like that means it's 8 points like that. And so you're doing 8 stops in a 360. So it's like little tick marks like that. Snap looks here. They're basically accelerated spins on a line, is what that is. A white one means it's a positive snap, so you're pulling back. A red one means it's a negative snap, so you're pushing forward. Same thing with the spins, a positive one-turn spin. and it inverted into negative spins, the upside down kind of. And then you could make 1 1/4, 1 1/2, things like that. So it makes this kind of the building blocks language. What about very good stuff like this? This is a pattern sequence that we flew when I was starting out. So it's just a loop, a half even. You go to the box, come back, you do a roll in the middle of the box, you do a 180 turn, turn yourself around, and another 270 turn here. And then you see how it comes out here, that's on the y-axis. You come straight, it does it on the roll. So that's a typical very beginner sequence here. And then you get really complicated before I like limited, and this is just perfect ramp, okay? So we have to start there on 5, 3/4 roll, 3/4 and then stop, all this bird stuff, kind of thing. So just keep building and building. If you learn the basics, you can actually then start to learn how to read these. Judging, so there's judges on the ground, and they look at how precise the line of angles are. Are they loose ground? Because when it's moving, your loop can actually get elongated. Or say you don't do the loop wide, it turns into an edge, and those are all downgrades. And then there's a huge rule book with all those factors and stuff that you're going to be graded on. This actually comes back to that Aresti catalog. So you basically take the different elements. So lines say, okay, a line is worth 2 points. That's D2. A positive stack is worth 11 points. That means I think there's worth 13. So when you actually say you get let's say here, an 8.5 line, it's 13. So all the sequences have different key values, and then you have normally like 5 judges or so, and they're judging how much you're doing, and they multiply all the extras. And anyway, yeah, and then one other thing about Aresti, if you're going to contrast, you can see all the pilots all like going. And we're all advancing, and it's because we're sitting and rehearsing what we're about to fly. And I would inverted, okay, now you can roll, you know. And so it's like this Aresti dance they're doing, and it's really awkward. When I was at a session, working the coach this one, and all I like, little students were like, what are you doing? But that's what they're doing. Okay, the box itself. That's kind of the schematic of it. It's 3,300 feet on the width and length, and that's actually 1,000 meters because it's an international sport. That's what it comes from. That weird 3,300 is it's 1,000 meters, and then there's a little buffer, and you can see the blocks that they're dealing ground. There are upper limits and lower limits based on what category you fly. So if you're starting out, the upper limit's 3,500 AGL above the ground, and it goes down to 1,500 AGL above ground. I will tell you, as a beginner of that pilot, 1,500 feet above the ground, when you're doing things like this, is actually pretty scary. So we actually normally start like our beginning pilots say 2,000. We don't want to go below that. So they get more experience, they go down. And then you can see intermediate goes to 1,200, advanced goes to 200 meters, and unlimited is only 100 meters above ground. So if you think about, again, competition aerobatics is a good way to start at air shows. Air shows look as good as the students. So you can understand by how you progress you don't want to feel closure to the ground when all these maneuvers. And then glider has limits too, but slightly different because again, they don't have limits. You can see the box. Okay, that's what it looks like in relation to San Diego Valley Airport in Southern California. That's actually the box related to the airport. So there's these big markers. And a corner of the boxes we have things that sit out there. They're in the boundary. When you go to a grace period, because straight up from the air, it's hard to see if you're right on the end of the box. You get a little grace period. So if you sit and they sit this device, that's what it looks like. It's 2 bars, and you're sitting in the middle, it's 1 bar. And you basically sit there, and because a plane, it's in the box here, and then it comes over here, it's an out penalty. And then the plane will fly back in here, and we call it back in. So that's actually how we control when you're in and out of the box and the corners. Also, this is odd for that. Those are some pictures I took from my plane in really low ceilings, so I would have to stand the box. And those are the markers. You're not going to see, but you can see one. That's what it will look like from the air. I'm maybe 1,500 feet ADM. And these are really good markers for the national championship. Sometimes they're little pieces of, sheet rock that we throw out in the desert. So you kind of have to know what you're looking for a lot to find the markers. The other interesting thing about the box itself and the Aresti is directional. So we have a B and a C car. So you have one that you fly left to right, and then one that moves left. You have to fly in the car that's being flown based on the wind. It's just like a road heading. And so in this example right here, they're doing a spin. They actually have to spin and then come into that loop from left to right. And then they come off that into this is called a goldfish right here because it's not a goldfish cracker. And so that you have to be flown with that going towards the left in front of the judge. Okay. But where this gets really spooky, not starting sportsmen too much, to starting as intermediate or lot. They do quarter rotations. So you end up on the line. You end up going to and from the judges. You can decide which way you want to go. So I want to come to the judges. I want to go away from the judges. Maybe have a wind that's blowing you towards some of the judges. But then when you come out of that figure, okay, you do all this. This actually matters which way. You get it going this way, you've got to come out this way. And then when you do the next quarter and come back on the next, you have to go in the wrong direction. If you don't do that, this is what happens. This is an actual scorecard from nationals in an intermediate category. They went the wrong directions on figure 4, and they got zeros the rest of the match. Yeah, it's and you think you're flying good. I will tell you what happens to everyone. You're like, what is this? When someone comes up to you and goes, yeah, on that spin or whatever, you went the wrong direction, and you see where everything, and you're like, but it's okay, the levels of competition. So first we have 3 flight programs. We have the notes, and the note is actually published by IAC, got at the top of the year, and it basically is the known sequence, the compulsory sequence for each category. So you get it in January, you can go practice and fly it and work on it, so you should be able to fly your note good. Then we actually have a free. It's different from the freestyle, which is something the advanced pilots do like for airship competition. The free is actually some parameters. Say like you have to include a spin, or you include a hammer head, and so you can then put it together in your category. It has a certain point value and a certain number of maximum of figures. So you can't just be line roll. You have to put stuff in there. But we spend a lot of time working on these. Like you'll do it together for 1 year and you're like, I gotta change that figure. It's not scoring well, and so you kind of tend to work on your free a lot until you got one that's really solid that scores well and you like the fly. Then starting in the intermediate category level, we have the unknown level. It's our program. So the unknown is interesting. What happens is the day before you fly a regional contest, at nationals you get a couple more days, they give you a sheet of paper with the Aresti on it, and you have to go practice that mentally in your head and then fly it. So you get no actual practice time in the airplane. So this is actually what makes and breaks the top categories, is how well you can fly an unknown. And it actually shows how well you have practiced things. Because you can have stuff show up as never been an unknown. You're not flying and you're starting to fly free. That's really, really hard. And this is actually where it decides a lot of the titles and championships, the rankings at regional contests, is the unknown sequence. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, category. Yeah, so the category is primary. When you're starting out, all you have to do is fly the known. Okay? You get the sequence, you can practice it, you're husband stiff, and go fly a contest. It's fun, it's easy. You don't have to do, just learn how to fly one thing. And by the way, the last few years it's been the same primary sequence. They haven't changed it. So everybody who coaches primary pilots, we have to know about one. And we know how to coach. Sportsmen can fly the known for all the flies. All of them is develop their own free or allowed to, or not required to. Why is that? If you're going to be competitive, you fly free. Because they know will normally have some figure that has a high K value, the point value, and its motors are scored. One year we had a full Cuban 8 like this, and everyone's score was getting just 0. So program you can find make it easier and more figures you're going to store better than the box to slot them down. Just remember that when you get to sportsman. Intermediate, they really start to know the free unknown. Advanced, same thing, but they start adding more negative G, just overall complexity to the programs, and then unlimited, the most, complex, difficult set of figures. There are probably 24 people that compete in unlimited a year. It's not, it is physically drained on your time. The amount of practice you need to do to keep flying unlimited competitively, it's like a second job. So, and then there's also something called a 4-minute free. It's not all contests, but it's basically where the unlimited pilots and advanced pilots that are airshow pilots with a 500-foot car are allowed to do a type of airshow act. It actually has to include Aresti figures, but it can also do kind of airshow stuff like torque rolls and flying, flipping a plane around. And I want to mention that Rob Holland is great at this. He's won that like 4 times at the world's record. So it's but again, that's something to work on. You're not going to do that. Like I said, airshow stuff way up here. We're going to start at the bottom. So now I'm actually showing you some of the videos. So this is a primary sequence for this year. So it's not actually, you see, it's fairly easy. So 45 up, you slow it down, and then you're doing a 1.5 rig spin. Then you're going over here, crossing the box, get this half and turn around. Then you put a little you finish with the roll. That's the primary sequence. The video is not flying that. I think it says, actually is flying it. And this one, all right, so this is actually, he's a United Airlines pilot by chapter, and he just wants to fly airlines for fun. He has no desire to be on a team, to be at the national level, but he doesn't seem to spare time, be challenging. So that, I believe, was the spin that was missed it. This is actually a Durango at the airport. Yeah, that's the outlook's doing. I think this is the happy day. It's slow. It's not really what you think is happening. Yeah, 45 degrees. Well, and these are not perfect ones, but so now he's going to go, he's going to pause, draw a line, go to a loop. So why do you do this time? Yeah, these are brace ourselves while in that one. You want to find a dog bracing yourself. Again, not for being wild. It's really well. Even though the test, that flies and practices responsibilities for down. Okay, so this is the sports sequence this year. So you can see primary sports with about double amount of figures in primary. Similar figures does add in sportsman. You can start adding camera flags. So figures added, you have to learn how to do those. And then you can see there's a little bit here. This is a push down to 45, but it's still it's doable. It's more challenging for the lower planes at times, but it's specifically built for most planes are able to fly this. So the categories that they build it. So the next slide, this is actually my free program when I won the nationals, and it's simple. The Aresti is going to show up right here. So I actually put the figure on the slide, and this is also an awesome option. The idea is just precision. Okay, we're not like, that, speed and everything. We have about 49 in that day. So anytime I was flying towards the lake, I was just being low. So that camera, I actually was not on that one. I don't know if it was. And you can talk to yourself about it, see if it's counting and so you see me looking, I'm trying to figure out, and you're balloon plaza, okay, I can pull. And so you use ground references to figure out where you are in the box, so often you can see the markers. So when I have to spin, I went all the way to the, I mean, all the way around from where that straight down. I also, fine, like one potato, piece of potato, you know. Well, my is ended in there. Well, yeah, I think there were 12 meters in the class. But it's very good. Like that is, I don't see it. It's so plain. I don't think it's mistakes. Most of them mistakes all the time. This is intermediate, so you can see that there's a jump between sportsman and intermediate just by the amount of complexity. Like here we've got inverted 180 turn, inverted was now. So there is on the Grego, this is something like that, flies very, very well. And again, a lot of them fly. But you can see, I like this, you can see he's always looking. Where am I in the box? Where's the marker? Where's my distant finance, please? You're always checking where you are. And that develops skills once you get into the air show world, when you actually have to really know where you are. That's part of it. So he's always looking sideways. Those are really good examples of So he's waiting, and everything is, he's at the point where he's like, I need to be on this side of the box, I need to be in the center, I need to be over here. So we're basically facing himself, knowing where it is in the box, because you want it to look beautiful from the judge's perspective. You need everything balanced in the box. So it's great. Okay, advance. Then big jump when you're in advance. This is where what plane you're flying starts to become an issue. Single seat pits can do really well in advance. There's a lot of monoplanes. You can't fly the catalogs in advance. They just don't have horsepower. So this is kind of where the planes start becoming an issue when you comes off. And you can see it's just got more red on the page. So the more red it is, the more complicated it is, the more red stuff, more negative G. One thing I do want to point out is here, you start, it's actually on the sequence. It's going to be the video I show. Some of the things that help us start in advance are they can start intermediate. This is an inverted roll of turn. So this is one of the most complicated roll on your head maneuvers you'll ever fly. So you're basically trying to do one of those competition turns at greater than 60-degree bank while rolling at the same time. So you're trying to stay on the line and roll like that. And I'm telling you, when you start learning how to fly, those your brain's just like, is this how do I do this? They're really great when you do them well, but you're always practicing them from all different angles, because this is inside, and you go inside, outside, and have to change your direction of your roll and all kinds of stuff. This is Aaron Spartan. He won the advanced national title in 2017. This is one of his flights. And there's a lot of pushing in here, the negative G, and that's why I have to include this video. So, and he's always looking. It's not all looking at the point, is where are you around? Yeah, so that's pushing. That is not fun. You're literally on that point on the outside and pushing all the ones pounding your nose in it burns. Okay? No, follow the G's. You can like just squeeze all the muscles down and get rid of it. Pushing, you just have to relax because all the blood's just pushing your head. There's nothing you can do about it. There's like no training. You just have to keep running. But yeah, and you just sit here, you squeeze it, this was like, and then the funny thing is, it's the top at some point, he's like adjusting his glasses and stuff, he's waiting. But anyway, that's just an example of advanced. See, more of this, that's all I swear, an advanced two type of parts.
What's the slide again?
This is a pencil. It's yeah, so he does all the stuff before he starts the next part of the sequence. Okay. This is an unlimited sequence that for this year, and so just to think about this, you're flying in a straight line, and then that goes inverted. So what you actually have to do is do this and pull all the way onto your back at a 45-degree angle to half roll, and then a half snap other direction. Still come out inverted and pull that around. So it's just, it is punishing, you have limited stuff. I have this is a Rob Paul video, and I picked this that I was old, but it has, his Aresti that he's flying on, that's why it's a really good video. And he's flying, MS. And so here's the Aresti right here, when he's flying, so he's gonna roll on. Think you get it, like, compare that roll rate to the decathlon roll rate, okay? You're not gonna jump in and fly unlimited at all, you know, that's obviously is a custom made plane for that has insane roll rate. But you gotta start down at the primary level and slowly work up there, and if you wanna be that much into your line, fly unlimited. So here, I don't have a video for 4-minute free, because you see air shows all the time, you get the idea, it's air shows plus some Aresti, and it's really fun to watch, especially when they do it at regional contests, we'll have 2 or 3 people, and it's the last thing we fly, so it's kind of like fun, it's got music and smoke and stuff, and there's like in Borrego, there's a Japanese airline pilot who comes over and flies California contest a lot, and because he's Japanese, you know, he did Mr. Roboto, this is music, and we just all died laughing, but it was so appropriate and fun. It's just a really fun program. Regional contests is where you're going to start out. Here's like some of the fun posters and names of contests on the West Coast, that's where I'm from. And you know, there's kind of the size. They can be small contests because the weather turned out, or this is in Aquila, up in Arizona. It's a huge contest. The Air Force Academy shows up with their gliders. And gliders are mixed in with counterflies. It's really fun. And so the contests normally are 3 days. Day 1 is you fly in, you get your plane inspected, you register, and you get the practice normally once in the box. And just that way, you're flying in the box, kind of figure out where the markers are, what in the distance can I line up with, just kind of get familiar. Day 2, you fly your known flights first, then we also move into the free flights. Day 3, you continue the free flights, and then you fly the notes. People that are meeting abroad have to have a day to look at their own notes, so they go home on day 1, and they're literally in the hotel and struggling away, trying to figure out how to fly this, you know, and dance all the way through the hotel room, and trying to memorize the sequence as best they can and figure out their plans. Then they do the 4-minute freeze, and often there's a Lord banquet, you know, something. And then it's typically Thursday, Saturday, and so you fly home on Sunday. I run a contest at Redlands. We're actually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because it's on Labor Day weekend, but just so you kind of know. So often you have to miss like 2 days of work. There is a contest calendar on the IAC website that is published, everyone can look at. If you're interested in doing this, go check it out and look one near you. Just fly in and check it out. We don't have to tell anyone, just go check it out. This is just some shots from the podcast, the box, there's a safety inspection. They do a briefing just like the air show, so we go over all the rules and regulations in the morning. Oops. There's someone who's starting and helping getting you going, basically telling you you need to go to the hold now. So they actually help control the flow. This is an example of the judges line. And then these are actually the score sheets you get. These are some of my score sheets when I was starting out. And so again, you can see the here's the figure, here's the K values here, and then here's the grade, okay? And then these go into a computer that calculates the final grade of the score. And you can also get comments like late pick, flat on top, tight on back, short after. I think I'll see fun ones later. Anyway, but that's kind of what the sports sheets look like. And then you basically you're spending all this money and doing all this to get a lip line. And then you get the overall people only get a little plaque, which will be, and then you get medals for the placing and the different flights. That's the standard awards. And that's Aerobatic Championships. It's currently held in Kansas. This year it's the first week of October. It's only the September. And they do all categories, plus 5-minute free, 4-minute free, and they award the national titles for sportsmen in our box. And it's also where they do the team selection for the teams that go compete on the world level. This year's an advanced team selection, and the next year will be an unlimited team selection, and then the worlds are the following year. So there's different criteria for that and flight or normally another unknown flight, who does not know skills. So this is the national start at Oshkosh here. And then these are the teams. This was the team, the COVID team that actually did not get to fly. They trained. They postponed the world a year, and they slowly get the following the Saturday. This is a current team that is in Illinois right now. And so they're actually practicing. And this was actually a limited team. The last one that actually was at the Worlds, and they came home with the silver. I will say on the world stage, normally the French went there. Unfortunately, professional pilots, and we do it as a hobby. Well, they tend to do it as a career. But U.S. normally place the individual pilots in place very high, and we normally come home with the silver, which is still okay, if you want to do this, get your next test. Find an experienced instructor. Don't go find someone who says, oh, I have to do a roll in my photography. Find someone who has done competitions, okay? You want to compete and get into this, you can find someone who's actually knows what they're doing and has is precision, okay? So ISC has a list of aerobatic schools. Just reach out to them and talk to them. Seriously, I'll give you my email me, and I can help with you on someone any part of the country you're in. You need to do spin and upset recovery before you fly a contest. You need to get out of a quad. Those hammerheads and sportsmen, you can instantly fall backwards into an inverted spin. So you've got to have spin recovery and upset training to know how to deal with something like a pressure environment, and when something goes wrong, they'll be able to fix it. You're not following a tail rule. Endorphin, because almost all the aircraft are tail wheel. And don't go do the 5-hour one, go learn how to fly tail wheels. Get hours in it. Because, it could be windy at that contest, and you're going to have to land that plane. Heat tolerance. I get stressed a whole lot. I feel sick. I really get sick heading for my CFI, and I felt nauseous. See that? The thing is, the body will get used to it. Did try to get it if you were mixed. You get used to it over time. Higher level, you do an aerobatics and more G tolerance. You actually have to go practice at the beginning of the year and build it up so you can go compete at those miles without levels. You need good instruction. Do not try to teach yourself. Find an instructor. And the thing is, if you teach yourself, you're going to learn how to do things wrong. So someone who knows how to knows how to fly that loop and would float over the top of the loop, you will gain so much by working with an instructor in the plane when you're starting out than just trying to figure it out. Yes, so basically, and I'll tell you where to look, little tricks with your rudder and things and stuff you're not going to figure out on your own. You also have a ton of ground time. A lot of time you spend is not flying a plane. It's like, okay, what altitude are you starting to figure out? What altitude are you hitting? Let's figure out. Where in the box are you putting these figures? So we actually spend a lot of time analyzing that. I always ask people, how much altitude do you lose in a, on a camera? Well, I don't know. I'm like, so fly it up high to help me. We're going to come back and write it on a piece of paper. So we know when we do a sequence. And what that's important is when you start getting a sportsman and you need to build freestyles, you need to know that stuff to build a sequence. You need stuff like intermediate and unknowns. You've got to be able to analyze them. You got to know I need to start this sequence at 2,000 feet, so I don't go to the bottom of the box. So that's really important in ground steps. And then I always say, if you're working with an instructor, the good goal to know you're ready for competition is there's some criteria where they're called student achievement awards, or actually the two matches. When it's published, so there's one for pilot and sportsman. Once you apply with an instructor awards, you can go apply it in conference. That's a good way to judge the progress. This is us actually working with Roy, who's finding the competition on actually his box placement. That's actually from one of our coaching sessions at my chapter. This is actually me for a training camp with different sequences that I like highlighters, and I'm trying to analyze my altitude and things. Some people do airspeeds, things like that. And then coaching, I mentioned that. Once you know how to fly or you go roll all the 45 and stuff, you're gonna need to work with someone who's on the ground and looking up, okay? Because the judges are on the ground looking up. So this is actually really important to actually win. You know, first you're going to do dual instruction with an instructor, possibly in the plane with you as a safety pilot. Here, towards the above, once you get familiar and you're comfortable and you can make cover with things, you're going to work with someone on the ground, and we're just on a radio frequency telling you what's going on. Like you're short, they'll start that here. They often help you how you fly across the box, and they'll say go. And that's where they want you to place the figure. It's very helpful with your pilot. And so, you can just find an experienced IAC member who's willing to donate time and work with you. We're eager to help. I have coaching days with people on my chapter where I just come out, I don't fly all day, I just sit there and help them, work on their maneuvers and box position. They often have what called camps, the training camps, that where we actually work with the coaches, that's often for the higher level pilots. And those happen, and sometimes we'll spend a week just working with a coach flying 3 flights a day. This is actually us at our chapter doing a training thing. And actually, there's a judge, and he was awarded student passes to pilots that day and watching them. Okay, your first contest. I will tell you right now, but the hardest thing, if you don't own an aerobatic plane, is finding a plane to fly. Because of insurance requirements, it's gotten harder and harder to rent planes for contests. So step one is figure out, whether your school or instructor takes a plane to contest. That should be a factor if you want to all of their partnerships are doing really fun. Like people is going to make a capital. Ask for that. Or if you can afford it, buy it now on Aresti will see against the start out. Don't go buy an extra instead out. It's too much plane for you. Low fly, a low horsepower, really difficult to roll a plane to put the techniques down. So when you move up to a high performance plane, you're going to do much better. I promise you, that's what I did. I flew 500 in a decathlon when I was starting out. And then, like I mentioned, you often have a safety pilot for insurance reasons, but sometimes you're not insurable yet in that plane to be flying on this. Fly pilot. Everyone wants to fly a sportsman. They're like, I want to be on the real estate. I want to play sportsman. No. Your first contest, go fly primary. You are in a new environment, trying to figure out a contest environment, how to deal with a hole, how to be called to the box, how to dive into the box. There's no way of a contest, so you're very sure of what you're doing. Okay? It's going to help you, and the thing is, it's fun. And I teach it with very, very basic. So you should be learning just this. And then, like I said, the wildly newfound skills in this place to stay in a box. That's what it feels like when you're flying. You're starting out in contest. And people do hilarious things. There was a guy on primary that created the ski axis. He came out of a one-axis spin that one in like, I don't know, something, and going diagonally back and forth across the box. So what I like is, it's like diagonally across the box. But it's become this really funny thing where again, when there's axis. So it's a fun category, and it's not a pressure category. There are no out penalties. That means the only thing you don't do in that category is go below the bar on the box. And then, and once you have a sportsman, you have to compete against very experienced pilots that only fly sportsmen. So they don't discourage you by putting you in a category that you don't know the basics yet. So that's just my advice. Try to start the primary, fly the contest. When you're good at primary, we move up. Anyway, I'm smiling at victory because it was really fun. That's the other half awesome. The contest itself, they'll often give you, when your first contest, they'll give you someone to help you out. So basically a sign more experience time, make certain they can answer questions, get you where you need to be. Volunteer. I'm an artist director, and it just makes me sad how many pilots will also volunteer. Because when you're not flying, we can put you on a judge's line, you can help record scores, or, and listen to what the judges are saying about the other categories. It's a great learning experience to be on the judge's line. So I try to make all of our pilots reporters at my contest if they want to volunteer. And then your goal for primary is just to get a higher score on each note form. Okay, now you've learned, you made a mistake, you drove it too far from the box, the next note fly, go a little bit closer to that in. Just improve your score. That's a really good thing to do, and that's, I started out in 65 and I'm now in 70, and we're like, let's get better. That is the goal for primary. Just learn what you're doing. And again, I would say, you know how long it took you to do your first solo when you were learning to fly? Well, Aerobatic is more complicated than that. So there's no reason to start rushing through this and trying to get the intermediate for first year. You start your first year. Wow, you haven't learned everything. I just put this in there. This is really funny. Sport cards, it's an Aerobatic 0, you know. Another one, or if you lost it, this is my favorite one. My first contest, when I was flying primary, the very last contest, the one that I was flying for safety pilot wasn't available. So an advanced level pilot, I contacted him, he's like, "Yeah, you can fly the front seat of that extra." I had no extra flight. I did one practice flying with him, accidentally pulled 8 G's, and I caught his turn. And I had no idea how to control the plane. Basically, this was from Jim Bird, INC president. All the world's slowest extra roll. But I was flying behind the cap line, and they just went slow, perfect roll. Yeah, it's funny. Okay, and then you get fun things like I got my first ride in an extra contest after the thing. He said, "Susan, you want to come to this one?" See about me? I'm like, "Yeah." So guys are really fun. If you don't are a pilot and you just want to follow here, or you're just not interested in competing, or maybe you do recreational aerobatics, how do you get involved with our contest? We need a ton of people. There are all these different roles you can do. You can be on the judge's line, you can help register, just help run ice and water to everyone. It's a fun environment. Please come out and volunteer. My chapter, we've actually got a page put together with a lot of volunteering information. Go check it out. It gives you an overview of some of what I've done here, but what the different roles are. Like before the contest starts, we can go put out our temporary bus markers. This is the judge's line, the reporter, judge, and assistant. And also another tip is go to judge's school. Even though you don't be a judge. Before the very first contest, I'm going to judge's school. The thing is, judge's school, the newcomers want to learn the basic rules of the judging. That's not which is not learning the rules of being judged by. Officers and pilots, you don't have to be a judge to go to judge's school. You're learning what they're looking for. Often there are spouses, companions that don't fly that actually will go to become judges. Penny Reiner, she's a world level judge, and she's not a house. So, IAC members obviously don't want to be judges, have to go to judge's school, and then judges have to be recurring to this. And then again, IAC has information about judging schools. They're normally in the first part of the year, January, February, March, and they've been doing an online one because of COVID. IAC, again, only 10% of the members compete. So there's a lot of opportunity here. Again, we're part of the EAA. You just add it on to your membership if you're not a member. And you get back, sport your badge magazine, and in terms of a lot of benefits. And then you can also join a local IAC chapter. This map is a couple years old, but here's where chapters are currently based. You can see we've got a ton in Southern California. California has the most aerobatic pilots per state. Florida has much too. And it's just fun. There may not be one right near you, but the closest to you, maybe fly over the weekend for a practice day or something so you can meet people. Or fly over and involved in their contest. So that's basically my presentation. I'd love to take any questions. Before I do that, let's go. I bought some little airplane stickers with my first plane, the pink one. Please get those. And then if you're interested, I have them at NASA. I'm doing an airborne science forum on Saturday, talking with behind the scenes video of science flights for NASA. There's a flyer up here too. Anyway, but yes, I'm thinking. Yes.
I don't mind me
Yeah.
saying this, but I fly Cobra. I got here last year. Luckily, 150 horsepower. I know I will never win, but that's okay. I'm flying my Cobra in sportsman this year. It's my first practice day. I'm jumping in flight.
Sequence ends with 180 pounds.
Well, that's what I would say, what you do is try to accommodate it into a piece and come back in, because there's no penalty for a break or private.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, it's low cost, low rate, do quality aerobatics, and it's harder to do a shark's tooth or an Immelman, anyone can do, and it's super rewarding competition.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, don't think you provide extra to do
That's
this.
the win.
Yeah, it's just fun, there are people, yes, you just do better each contest, and again, there may be someone like me, the year I won, I did 43 coach flights. Okay, no one was going to beat me, because the amount of time and coaching I was spending before I won the national title, there will be people like me that are just trying to dominate the category, but there are all other people just having fun, and then I moved up to the next category and I left, and there's so much fun. So you don't have to be ultra competitive like I am, you can just have fun at these contests too, and just be judged by the rules. If you want to start do fun gentlemen aerobatics, recreation stuff on the side, great. If you want to know if your aerobatics are any good, come in and fly Power Sportsman. Okay. All right, any other questions? Yes.
Aviation family, like no airbags.
Yeah.
I would try to not be on the thing. After 60. So we not fun. I saw 14 or something like that. Wants to get into dogfighting, so if it's something else, 60 of them, they can take airbags before once they listen to.
You can only fly aerobatics with the CFI in the plane. If you don't have your pilot or your certificate yet, you have to have a CFI rule in the plane. They just added that rule for student pilots. Yeah, but it is allowed. I don't know if there's a category requirement. There may be, maybe sportsmen and below, but you can have a CFI in the plane. Yes. Yep. So, any other questions? Yes.
I'm just gonna get your contact.
Oh, okay, that's my email, and I tweet all the time. People just don't get that, I really, but you can follow me too, susantaylor@gmail.com, and please email me, I can help answer questions, or try to hook you up, just to people I know, if you're interested, certain part of the country. Yeah, I'm in Southern California, I am not teaching right now because my AMP school. Just, I know a lot of people are like, can you teach? I'm like, I do not have time, it's AAP classes, so. Anything else? Yes.
Well, in terms of staying in the box, especially during your own sequence moments, I'm just you're actually in a competition there. Are you still looking at that box? Or at that point, you just have it down so well that you know you're in.
Yeah, so his question was like, since you practice a gnome sequence so much, at say your full record, and you know you're staying in the box, what happens when you go to another contest location with a different box? You're just doing it by like internal timing, or are you looking at markers? You're looking at the markers. This should be the correct answer. There is some internal timing, but the thing is, you can be on location with a huge wind that you don't normally practice in. So you actually do need to keep checking where you are in the box and trying to correct. My advice to pilots at a contest is you're not going to learn anything on your practice stuff. You're just out there kind of warming it up and checking out the box. Checking out the box is your number one goal at contests. You want to fly through that box, look at the marker and look at the distance. Is there a line of trees? Is there a big building? Is there a hangar? What is in the distance? Line up with that marker so when you're flying, you can glance over and make certain you have gone out of the box. Same thing with the center mark, and the far mark. We basically go through, let's say 2,000 feet. fly through, look at all the markers, come back through it. If you don't have them in your head really good, go out and practice once. So knowing where you are in the box can be internal timing, but if there's a wind, everything changes. And the wind can sometimes be not just across the box, the direction you're flying with the runway. You'll have an on judge wind or an off judge wind that's pushing you on this axis to and from the box. So when that happens, you really have to start watching, because the worst thing in the other is to be on top of the judges and realizing you're on top of the judges. They can't see you because you're not far enough back, so they can't score you well. So your scores are going to be really bad. So at some point, you need to know where you are in that box. You wag your wings, you can take a break. There's a slight penalty. It goes, the higher the category, the more the penalty for taking a break is. Reset yourself and start picking up with the next figure. That's part of the rules. So, okay, yeah. A lot, what's more internal timing sometimes on rolls. So say like a 45-degree line, a 3 count, roll, 2 count, that stuff becomes internalized, because you get used to how fast your plane moves and how much space you're taking up. So that becomes more internal. But the box, I'm always looking where I am, because the wind can mess you up. So, any other questions? All right, well, thank you so much. I'll be around a little bit.